power isn't given. It's taken. A world ruled by fear. Only the strongest survive. The Boss Chronicle.
The room was dead silent. Arya didn't cry, and she didn't beg for help. She just stood there in the center of the office, trembling. The Mafia boss sat behind his heavy desk, his face hidden in the shadows. He was a man who ruled the city with a whisper. He didn't need to scream to be scary. He slowly stood up and walked toward her. He reached out and gently took Arya's arm. He pulled back her sleeve, and his eyes turned to stone. There they were, 5 dark, purple bruises shaped exactly like a man's hand. Someone had grabbed her with pure hate. The Mafia boss didn't explode with anger. Instead, his voice became very low and very cold. He looked her in the eye and said, "Give me a name." Arya's heart hammered against her ribs. She knew that once she spoke, the city would never be the same. She whispered a name that made the boss's guards turn pale. She named the one person the Mafia boss had sworn to protect at all costs. The name Arya whispered was Julian. Julian was the Mafia boss's younger brother. In their world, family was the only thing that mattered. You were supposed to protect your blood, no matter what. But the Mafia boss looked at Arya's bruises, and then he looked at the door. He didn't hesitate. He picked up his radio and gave a terrifying order. "Seal the city. No one leaves. Not even my own brother." Suddenly, the whole city changed. Heavy black SUVs blocked every bridge. The trains stopped moving. The airports were shut down. Thousands of people were trapped because the Mafia boss was on the hunt. He wasn't just looking for Julian. He was putting the whole world in a cage. Arya watched the city lights flicker from a window. She realized she wasn't just a girl anymore. She was the reason a war was starting. But as the clock struck midnight, a loud explosion rocked the building. The fight had come to them. The explosion happened at the city docks. The Mafia boss's men rushed there, thinking they had trapped Julian. Instead, they found something much worse. It was a body, but it wasn't the right man. It was a loyal guard who had tried to help Arya escape earlier that night. He was gone, and a note was pinned to his chest with a knife. The note said, "You are weak for loving this girl. A king should care about his crown, not her." Arya felt a cold weight in her stomach. This wasn't just Julian being mean. This was a plan to take over the city. Someone was using Arya's pain to make the Mafia boss look weak. The boss stood over the body, his eyes like ice. He realized the trap was much bigger than he thought. He looked at the smoking docks and realized that someone inside his own house was helping the enemy. The Mafia boss returned to his penthouse and ordered everyone into the main hall. He didn't look for his brother anymore. He looked for the person who had given his brother the idea. He tore open his secret files and checked the security cameras. He found something shocking. A secret payment made to a group of dangerous mercenaries. The signature on the payment belonged to his top general, the man he trusted most. The Mafia boss didn't even turn around. He just asked, "Why did you do it?" The general didn't apologize. He laughed and said, "You care too much about her. We want a leader who only cares about power." Before the general could pull his gun, the lights in the office went out. A single shot rang out in the dark. When the lights came back on, the general was gone, and the Mafia boss's desk was covered in blood. The war had moved inside the house. The penthouse was no longer a home. It was a battlefield. Many of the guards had joined the traitors. Arya hid in a small closet, listening to the heavy boots of soldiers searching for her. She knew that if they caught her, they would use her to make the Mafia boss surrender. Suddenly, the closet door opened. It was the Mafia boss. He was covered in dust, but his grip was strong. "Stay behind me," he ordered. They moved through the dark hallways like shadows. Arya realized that the Mafia boss wasn't just protecting her life. He was protecting his honor. He fought off 3 men at once to keep her safe. But as they reached the secret exit, the doors burst open. Julian was standing there with a group of armed men. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was smiling, and he was holding a gun pointed straight at Arya's heart. Julian's voice was full of hate. "You love her more than me, brother. You always did." But as Julian talked, someone else stepped out of the shadows. It was untouchable, the old man who had taught the Mafia boss everything he knew. He wasn't there to help. He placed a hand on Julian's shoulder and looked at the Mafia boss with pity. "The boy is right," the old man said. "You've grown soft. Arya has made you human, and humans are easy to kill." The betrayal was complete. The three people the boss loved, his brother, his mentor, and his city, had all turned against him. Arya realized the name she gave in the beginning was only half the truth. The old man had planned everything. But just as the old man signaled his men to fire, the Mafia boss did something no one expected. He let go of his gun and took out a small remote. "If I can't have this city, no one can," the Mafia boss said. He pressed a button, and the entire building's power grid exploded. The room went pitch black. In the darkness, the money and the titles didn't matter. Only who was the better hunter mattered. Arya heard the sound of a terrible struggle, the clatter of metal, and the heavy breathing of men fighting for their lives. When the red emergency lights finally flickered on, the scene was shocking. Julian was on the floor, shaking with fear. The old mentor was backed into a corner, his weapon broken. The Mafia boss stood in the center of the room, like a ghost. He had moved so fast in the dark that the traitors never had a chance. He looked at the mentor and said, "You taught me how to fight in the dark. Did you think I would forget the lesson?" But the old man just grinned, blood on his teeth. "I don't need to kill you, boss. The secret will do it for me." Arya looked at the TV screens on the wall. They were playing a secret video that was being sent to every phone in the city. It was a video of the Mafia boss's father from many years ago. In the video, the father confessed a deep secret. The Mafia boss wasn't the real heir. He had been taken from a rival family when he was a baby to stop a war. The secret was out. In the eyes of the Mafia, he was a fake king. He had no right to rule. The guards outside the door stopped fighting for him. The city stopped fearing him. In 1 second, the Mafia boss went from the most powerful man in the world to a man with nothing. Julian started to laugh, standing up and dusting off his suit. "You're nobody now," he sneered. The Mafia boss looked at Arya, then at the bruises on her arm. He realized he had lost his empire, but he still had the one thing the traitors could never have: the truth. The Mafia boss didn't argue. He didn't try to stay king. He looked at Julian and said, "You want this chair? Take it. But the city is broken. The police are coming. The money is gone. You will be the king of nothing." Julian's smile disappeared. He realized that without the Mafia boss's brain, the empire would fall apart in minutes. The Mafia boss turned to Arya and held out his hand. "The jet is ready. We can leave this life forever. No more blood. No more secrets. We can just be people." Arya looked at Julian, who was already starting to panic as the sirens grew louder outside. Then she looked at the man who had burned down a whole city, just because someone hurt her. She realized that she didn't want a king. She wanted him. She grabbed his hand, and they ran toward the roof. As the sun rose over the city, the penthouse was empty. Julian was left sitting on a throne that meant nothing, while the police swarmed the building. The old mentor was gone, erased by the very world he tried to control. The city of no one slept was finally quiet, but it was a nervous kind of quiet. Everyone knew that something huge had happened. Arya and the Mafia boss stood on the deck of a ship, watching the city disappear in the distance. Arya looked at her arm. The bruises were still there, but they were fading. She wasn't a victim anymore. She was free. The Mafia boss looked at the horizon. He wasn't a boss anymore, but he looked happier than he ever had in his suit. The world thought they had ruined him by telling his secret, but they had actually set him free. As the wind blew through Arya's hair, she knew one thing for sure. The city would never forget the night the Mafia boss walked away.
Remember, loyalty builds empires. Betrayal destroys them. Choose power wisely. The underworld never forgets. The Boss Chronicle. Like and subscribe.